who is in the bottom left-hand corner here. Our blue Zerg player playing for Alpha X. This is Ragnarok.
It's the end of the world, oh no! Ah, everyone panic, as in the top right-hand corner. Look at... Would it be a Maru series offline if he didn't throw down 2 proxy racks? I mean, I guess the question of, is this man in form? Well, if he's doing this, obviously he's feeling pretty good, because this is classic red Terran in the top right. It's Maru.
We got the logo for his new team as well. I mean, Onside Gaming introducing themselves just like even months ago, just not very long, and picking up Maru. I know they have an additional player as well, and I don't want to speculate because I'm going to get it wrong, but also picking up Neeb as of late as well, so really bolstering their roster. Ragnarok, though, has a good soul read on this situation. He does go pool first. He knows He knows that Maru is cheeky, but he isn't going to spot this quite yet. But he's on the hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Overlord here not being able to scout this out. We'll finally see it here on the tail end, and you already have those legs out. And this is such a good start here for Ragnarok. Maru's going to see them and be like, ah, darn it. This was a pool first, and so... As the 2 Marines come out, of course, it becomes a lot harder for the Zerglings. And look at this, Ragnarok. I mean, we saw him in Season 1. He was so aggressive. I mean, this has been the new style for Ragnarok, where he has just been proxy hatches. Just constant aggression. It's a Roach Warren place down. He's not going to let up on that style. And I got to say, I love this from Ragnarok. The fact that he's being, I mean, almost dark-like in how aggressive he gets in these games.
I think you almost have to be, especially since the bunker is on its way. And look at this cute little double SEV repairing themselves. That just adorable. You fix me up, I'll fix you up. We'll all be good together. It's going to come down to the surrounds, though. These Zerglings are starting to dwindle in number, and the Marines are incredibly strong when microed appropriately. Will this bunker be allowed to finish, though? I think that's a bigger question, but the Lings are all gone here. That one Queen is dangerously low. The Marine's going to stutter step forward here and pick her off once and for all. But finally, eliminating all of the SCV threat means that this bunker is not going to get situated, and Roaches are going to be the natural response. Now, unfortunately here for Ragnarok, Maru is going to spot this almost immediately. Look at this supply depot, though. It's going to get dangerously low. It does get repaired in the final second of its life here, so the SCVs are going to be able to protect this for right now. Barracks not being flown quite yet here, so they might still be useful in some capacity, but it is going to be a Cyclone as the response here, which is going to be a perfect response to what he knows is going to be Roach Ravagers coming across the map.
Yeah, unlike the tank, the Cyclone, you can be a lot more proactive with it. You can get it out on the map. And as we saw, Maru continuing to be aggressive with those Marines picking off the Queen meant that the Roaches had to be brought down. And so the cat was out of the bag for Ragnarok. Oh, you went Roaches. All right. Maru's just going to play safe. The second command center is on the way. Starport is started as well as the barracks. One is going to be floated over for information, the other back home. And I got to say, for Maru, it looked like it was going to be a disastrous start, but still, as always, Maru finds a way to make the 2 racks work and is now going to be able to transition this, I think, pretty well into a standard macro game. And of course, it helps that Ragnarok slowed himself down with that early Roach Warren.
I think that is a phrase that you can put like on a t-shirt, you can put on a poster. Maru finds a way. Every single event that Maru's a part of, there's always an example of Maru finding a way. Gets back into a game, he claws back from the jaws of defeat. He makes it happen, like being like one of the winningest GSL members in GSL history. Maru finds a way. I think that is a perfect way to describe him.
I mean, is now tied with Rogue, though, I believe, at 4 GSL wins apiece. So, you know, that's kind of an exciting storyline, is that Maru, of course, had that much quicker, had that massive run, 4 GSLs in a row, was not able to get the 5th, and that still eluded his clutches, and now suddenly Rogue, you know, catching up Rogue, just the ever-impending doom of how good he is always. Looking to snag that G5L beforehand, and It's so cool, the storylines that you have going with these top level players, as Maru has effectively gotten up his second base. He's going to be heading, I actually really like this, he knows the Overlord is just going to be able to get in range of that starport, so fakes the Cloak Banshee, is looking to attempt to force out a response here from RAGNAROK as, oh wow, nice pickup. 4 drones go down to those Cyclones. It still gets both of them out, and then Maru fakes the Cloak Banshee immediately into the battle cruiser. And it's almost like there's 2 layers of mind games here, because obviously RAGNAROK can look at that and say, oh, well, you kept the cloak researching while my Overlord was there. Maybe you just cancel it and you head into a regular game without that starport tech. And then Maru says, no, I'm actually still going a starport unit. It's just going to be the battle cruiser this time.
Oh my gosh, this just feels like so disrespectful for RAGNAROK here. Maru going from the 2 racks into a BC. Hard to call it a rush at this point, but possibly pulling out BCs. We don't see it on the production tab just yet, but we got to get the mineral count up high enough to be able to start producing it. There it does finally come into play, but RAGNAROK's not going to mess around here, despite what he saw. He thinks he saw. I mean, I guess his last look was, yeah, that research going down on the tech lab. He's going to pick up a Spire, even if it is a Cloak Banshee. Mutas and Corruptors will do very well with them.
Yep. And I think it is Maru trying to play kind of the multifaceted mind games there. It might not end up working out, but of course he's going to be heading into mech regardless. And we've seen Maru start to play more mech recently. He's been looking at TVZ and he's been saying, listen, I feel like as long as you can be aggressive early on and you can find some damage with your opening, you don't necessarily have to immediately transition into bio. You can actually go mech, and that's what he's been doing. 2 armories are here. It's 3 factories. Sure, he has 2 barracks, but he doesn't care about that. He's just going to get into tank production, I assume, eventually here as he's looking to secure this 3rd. Continued Cyclones, though, means that he's going to be able to be out on the map, and he's going to be able to be proactive with his units. This battle mech style kind of starting to come back into fashion as the BC is finished up. We're going to see what the strategy is here for Maru with this capital ship.
Here come Mutas. Mutas are a pretty decent opening here for the response. I mean, even if RAGNAROK doesn't know, which he's not informed that this is battle cruiser just yet, I don't think. Oh, these are actually going to get trapped in the very back here. Not going to find the damage they're looking for. 3 drones is enough, but it's not really a good exchange. An additional battle cruiser here does make this a little bit stronger, but Mutas will do okay at mitigating this. This will at least keep Maru from just jumping into a main base and not being responded to at all. But it will also work in the other direction as well. RAGNAROK's going to try and come in here with these Mutas. He has delayed a little bit of other tech to try and make these Mutas happen. So they do need to try and find a little bit of economic damage, but instead they are just going to have to flap around for right now. I'm still trying to determine if, no, I don't think the battle cruiser's even been spotted just yet. It hasn't quite leapt across the map. Well, where did it go? Okay, no, they're both just hanging out here. This might have actually been spotted by this point. It's just a matter of determining how RAGNAROK's going to respond, and right now it's just a whole lot of ground.
Yeah, I think Maru is being smart here. He doesn't want to commit the battle cruisers across the map. He's just going to use them as a defensive tool. And when he gets up to 3, of course, you can just fly them across the map, do a battle cruiser run by, and eventually TP out as soon as the Mutas, or as we see in production now, the Corruptors come to respond. But yeah, as you said, it's just going to be the ground response here. RAGNAROK is going to look to try and build up an army that can eventually start to pick off some tanks and roll through this Terran army. That's going to be a lot of Roaches, a lot of Zerglings as well. It's only attack upgrades. You know, those armor upgrades, I mean, they're good against bio, where you have very high damage, where it's low numbers coming in very, very quickly. But against the mech, nah, it's just brute force. That all that damage comes in at once. So those armor upgrades are a lot less useful when you're trying to make these earlier time attacks work, as some of these Mutas are going to go down. The battle cruisers just trying to find as much value as possible, and this is the strength of the BC. We've seen, I mean, earlier on today, Gumiho showcased exactly how efficient you can be with them. Even now, Maru says, listen, as long as you can find some kills and then TP out and keep the BC alive, it's going to continue to get value throughout the course of this game.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Maru wants to try and get into as well, as it is going to be mech upgrades. I mean, we are going to have mag field accelerators being brought in, so those cyclones are going to continue to be more and more powerful. And like you said, it is going to be a battle mech style here against RAGNAROK, which I for one, absolutely adore. I think that's a really fun way for Maru to play this engagement. But here comes a big jump. RAGNAROK has the supply advantage and wants to see if he can capitalize on it. Does pick up a few of those valuable ground units. A couple of tanks do end up going down, and a couple of workers getting picked off on the backside of it too. But really, outside of that, not a big investment lost here for Maru. He's able to hold on to those BCs as the corruptor count does continue to grow. It's 11. If that gets too much larger, that's going to be a bit of a handicap here. But look at this, a greater spire underway. We're going to get Broodlords here in game number 1. Hold me, Titan.
Oh, this is great. This is classic TVZ here. Of course, normally you'd expect the bio, but I'm loving the mech out of Maru. Now that Magfield Accelerator is done, of course, these Cyclones, they do a lot of damage, so Maru's going to be a bit more aggressive out on the map. Thor production has begun, and another big thing that we haven't noted just yet is the upgrades. Maru, he's playing mech, yes, but he already has 2-2 on the way. He's actually going to be ahead in upgrades against the Zerg, who's going ground, and that's just not a situation that I think you should ever be in as RAGNAROK. It just goes to show Maru right now on top of these timings. Ooh, Baneling's rolling on through. You just have to pull on back here with the Cyclones. BCs will come into cover. And Maru just trying to clean up this creep, trying to trade as much as possible. But 8 Broodlords on the way. That is the entire investment of the gas bank for RAGNAROK.
And RAGNAROK's going to be supply maxed here, so he is going to drop down a little bit of static defense to try and protect his outer lying base. And it seems like Maru is already aware of what's going to be coming down the pipe. There are Thors on the way. We do have a Ghost Academy now being started up at the backside of the base. But like you said, the upgrade count is going to be really crucial here for Maru, as he does have his 2-2 finished up for all of his mech or his ground mech units rather. Ship weapon's going to be on a different path, but here comes the engagement here. First battle cruiser does get pushed back out of the way, but good tank coverage is going to prevent the ground army from really coming on in. And now these rocks on the left-hand side are going to have to be dealt with to allow for additional engagement potential. But look at all of the unit composition here for Maru. He has Thors. He has Thors in high impact mode. He has Hellbats to help deal with these Broodlings. They're not going to be nearly as effective, but will they be able to stop the Banelings from rolling in? They are going to get a little wishy-washy on their targeting here, and the Banelings not going to find nearly as much damage as they otherwise could have had they just maybe gone for a mineral line or even the planetary fortress as well. And that's going to allow Maru the chance to step forward with those Cyclones and deal a little bit of damage. But here come the Corruptors once again. If they are not dealt with, they're going to get a lot of damage done. But right now, Maru in a really good hold position.
I mean, holding on to the 4th base is massive here. He's going to be able to heal up all these units with the repair. And you see there, I mean, the Thor's coming in just in time. Gets up to the count of 4. Has them in the high impact payload. Those 20, I mean, what are they called? The big cannons. I forget what they're called exactly. But absolutely able to just wreck through that air army for RAGNAROK. And the Broodlords are all gone. That's it. That was the massive investment for RAGNAROK. Right now, he's, I mean, at 6 bases, but Maru's taking a 5th. And he's working with the much more cost-efficient army. He has Blue Flame for these Hellions. He has these 3 battlecruisers still alive. And they can just Yamato cannon any one unit, and most likely, that will just be an instant kill.
Oh, okay, these Thors are actually going to get caught out of position here. That's a bit of a careless mistake here for Maru. These units are expensive, and even though there are not any Broodlords currently on the map, you don't want to just throw those units away. These Thors can still be incredibly powerful against a Roach composition army. Even like Banelings. Banelings won't trade nearly as effectively if there are Thors there to body block. So Maru with a little bit of a slip, might have been trying to clear up a little bit of the supply cap, but I don't think that's the right way to go about that, just giving up those big expensive units. But ghosts are going to be the response here. Personal cloaking device is going to be finishing up, and here comes another big push. There are Vipers in this mix here, and a lot of blinding clouds are going to prevent these tanks from being able to protect this mineral line. The base goes down, 23 workers along with it, and that's a much better exchange here for RAGNAROK.
Yeah, you do end up trading in a lot of Banelings, of course. And Maru is just going to plant that orbital command that he had right next to the planetary, so he's not actually lose too much mining time on this base aside from replenishing the worker count, but he's got plenty of command centers to do that. Right now, 6. That's more than enough. And now it's ghosts in production. Of course, you're not going to get upgrades for these ghosts because the main use for them is in the spellcasting. The battle cruisers, once again, are going to find a backstab. They're going to find continued value. And Rushi, just don't look at the resources loss graph because it is disgusting.
Ugh. Oh, sorry. I teach teenagers, so naturally my brain was like, "You said no, so I did." That's not great. That we're gonna have to blur that out, I think, at some point. That is not like, viewer discretion is definitely advised. Checking that one out. But anytime you are down over time and a half on your opponent in resources lost is not a record you want to be proud of.
Yeah, and now, I mean, this army just gets even better and better. It's kind of the alternate to the Ghost Mech transition that Maru does off of Bio, now doing it Mech, adding on the Ghosts. And now it's something he has snipes, he has EMPs, he can get rid of these Vipers a whole lot easier, and losing 3 Vipers for Ragnarok is absolutely not what you need right now. As this is a 3-3 mech army that is trying to push down Ragnarok. Maru, he has a bank, and Ragnarok is run dry.
Oh, I don't even think that it's a try to push down at this point. Maru's just going wherever he wants on the map. Okay, this is a nice little surround here. Banelig's going to try and find those ghosts, but the ghosts immediately go for a jog backwards. And now it's just the Thors left behind to try and deal as much damage as they can. And Maru able to secure the win here in game number 1. And Ragnarok just ran out of pieces to throw at his opponent. And Maru looking like he's feeling pretty confident here. To our second game in this series. In the bottom left-hand corner of Glittering Ashes, it is the Red Terran player currently up 1-0 in this Group D winners final. It is Onside Gaming's Maru.
And would he be doing anything else? Come on. Come on. It's Maru. And actually, look at Ragnarok. He even knows it. He actually goes for the very, very early scout. He's going to be able to see the barracks. And I like this for Maru. He's just going to put down a supply depot, make sure that this barracks will be safe. And I imagine we'll probably just, immediately transition it into a proxy Reaper with the refinery down. But ladies and gentlemen, the top right-hand corner with a great read so far, it is going to be Alpha X's Ragnarok.
Well, I mean, the supply depot does a really fantastic job of preventing the full surround and protecting this SCV for as long as humanly possible. Some good RNG there, but burying that SCV. Yeah, and the SCV is just going to get out of dodge. There's nothing here for it now, but it is going to fundamentally change how this opening is viewed. It's now from a 2 racks to a 1 racks. And more than likely, we probably won't see a bunker go down at this point. But kind of an interesting start here. It is going to be a Marine first, then going into the Reaper. What do you make? Oh, it is going to be a bunker. This is so bold.
I mean, listen, you doubt Maru. He has the Marine. He got the barracks up. Of course, it's going to be a bunker. Now, the spawning pool is finished, so you are going to see Queens and Zerglings immediately come out. But as soon as the Reaper is here, of course, that's going to be a lot harder for this micro from Ragnarok. And actually, the bunker already getting very close to being finished. Ooh, Maru not quite getting the RNG. Has to be careful. Oh, the SCV is going to go down. No more bunker rush for you, Maru. The Marine is going to have to pull back. The Reaper, though, will be able to come here and support it. And other than that, there's going to be a much quicker transition for Maru. It's actually going to be a CC on the low ground. He knows that, of course, this is a much less committed proxy than he otherwise was planning. And so the factory is also going to be quicker, meaning that obviously Ragnarok is probably not going to be putting down a Roach Warren and heading into any trying counter aggression.
Yeah, that is a breath of relief here for Ragnarok, who does get a really, really nice response out to Maru's cheeky shenanigans here. But we got to give credit to the Terran player here. He is kind of responding about as best as he could. He does have a second base that's mostly completed. Yes, he is behind a little bit on the worker count, but overall, not really in any major damage position here, or in any danger for that matter. So it just seems like Ragnarok is going to kind of bully away this Reaper. We kind of go into the status quo here for the ZVT opening. And now it's just going to be a matter of whether or not RAGNAROK decides to get out to that third base location, or if he wants to translate this successful defense here in the opening into something that's a bit more aggressive. But it does seem like RAGNAROK's going to get that drone out to the third base location. And all in all, I mean, Maru's got a third base just about already done. If RAGNAROK doesn't respond appropriately, Maru can easily just jump ahead economically, which is wild to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how good Maru is at adapting to situations. The barracks get scouted. I mean, we said the supply depot block to make sure at least the barracks goes up, then just into Marine Reaper. And it's a standard macro game from him off the back of it. He knows that RAGNAROK is going to be trying to, catch back up after this. And so says, well, I'll just throw down a third command center. He's going to have the Viking on the way. Of course, it's going to be that heli in production as well to get some presence out on the map. And I mean, as you were saying, Rushi, if RAGNAROK doesn't really have a plan to try and get something back in this game, I really am worried about what he's going to be able to do, because this is a Maru who's just going to start to catapult this economic lead, or to catapult himself into an economic lead. Of course, he's right now behind 6 workers, but even right now, being behind 6 workers off of a proxy racks that didn't really work out as you were planning, you are so happy with this as Maru, and it's going to immediately be that fusion core. But RAGNAROK, 2-base Spire.
Oh, see, I like 2-base Spire. This is my favorite way to play. And I guess he does have a 3-base. His third base is in position, so there can be a lot of drones that are pushed out while this Spire is allowed to finish. But once again, this is another kind of build where you need this to get economic damage. This isn't a response build. This is a dedication by RAGNAROK to say, I'm going to get damage done. I'm going to punish you on the opposite side of the map. And maybe he is trying to soul read once again, okay? Maru, game number 1, he went for that cheeky proxy, and he spotted it game number 2. RAGNAROK thinking once again, okay, well, what else did Maru do game number 1? He went for that early battle cruiser, might go for that again. And keeping that Spire as a part of it just makes sure that he doesn't immediately fall victim to something surprising him across the map. But once again, like I said, he has to find a way to get to economic damage. Otherwise, Maru's just going to continue getting himself back into his game. He's already climbed within, I mean, he's evened up the supply at this point. And this is a very scary push that's going to come on in.
Yeah, Maru gets a great first shot here with the heli. He's going to be able to clean up the rest of the Zerglings as well. The drones are being pulled, but a good block onto the Hellions. They're not going to be able to find the most damage just yet, but 7 drones going down. Now looking for the rest of the mineral line. Going to find 8, add it to 11. And this is a great push by Maru. I mean, and most of all, he sees the Spire. He knows that mutas are on the way. He's going to immediately put down missile turrets, in at least his natural one in the main as well. And the battle cruisers on the way to help deal with them as well. This is just, I mean, this was already a bad situation. You're even with Maru. That you never want to be even with Maru. And now suddenly you are behind. Uh-oh for RAGNAROK. This is not looking good. And look at that. The BC just pushes away the mutas. And this opening has done nothing.
Yeah, this is very akin to like the theater world where like if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, you should be running. If you are ahead of Maru, you're even with Maru. If you're even with Maru, you're behind. And if you're behind Maru, it's over. So this is a very scary position for RAGNAROK to try and play into, as now he's going to have to play defense once again here. His mutas are not going to be able to find the damage they need to, and Cyclone's locking on, picking off units already. This is just going from bad to worse, losing 2 of those mutas right off of the head. How do you even respond as RAGNAROK at this point? He does have Lings running around the map, but there's pretty decent coverage around the map as well, although this third base is a little bit exposed now as the battle cruisers are going to float out. They're going to be a little bit more aggressive this time around. Instead of just hanging back, waiting for RAGNAROK to come engage him on his side of the map, now it's going to be RAGNAROK pushing out, stopping creep, maybe picking off a couple of queens, because the muta count still is only at 7. That's not really that much to really threaten the battle cruisers at this point.
Yeah, the BC's going to push on in. Already going to be able to snipe a queen. And of course, you do have that tactical jump to get on out. The first battle cruiser is going to evacuate the position. The second one is shortly to follow. And of course, you might say, well, you know, while this is happening, RAGNAROK isn't really taking any more damage. He's just lost those 12 drones. The opening, he sure didn't do a lot, but he has a 4th base. But the issue is, again, Maru's just going mech. He says, listen, I'm just going to go mech again. It's good. Everyone doubting it. No, Mech is really, really good, because even if you don't find that damage, it's really on the Zerg to suddenly slow you down.
Yeah, and it looks like Hellions are going to come in here and try and make this a complicated issue. Once again, they are going to get in, and they have Blue Flame this time around, so these drones are extra barbecuable. Yeah, they just all line up as well. Oh, gosh, they get into the choke, and they make it the job easier for Maru. 19 drones for what was that? 6 Hellions? Oh, that is just that's got to be just a gut-wrenching scenario here for RAGNAROK, as it just... Every time he gets a better toehold, he just falls apart on the defense and not even able to capitalize on those banelings as well. Great mine placement here by Maru. RAGNAROK's going to try and slip up to a hive, but he's got to be careful that he doesn't tech up too fast. Otherwise, Maru's just going to push across the map with a bare amount of units and just going to bulldoze him over.
Absolutely is. I mean, right now, Maru's sitting up in supply versus the Zerg. The Mutas, they've been trying to find damage here and there, but have really been kept pretty far back. They managed to snipe that missile turret, get a few SCVs with it, but overall, this investment into 18 Mutas has not really come up with anything. And now Thor production is already here. You have the +2 vehicle weapons, and I mean, I don't think anyone needs a reminder to how good Thors are against Mutas with with those missiles, with the range. AoE air attacks with the javelin missiles. With +2, 2 volleys of that, and that's a big clump of Mutas that are going to go down. It's very, very brutal.
Look at this slow overlord trying to... I'll get a scout off, guys! Don't you thank you. I do impressions on the side. Feel free to hit me up. Oh, Maru's just kind of all over this game. I mean, RAGNAROK has an advantage on the supply, but I can't begin to stress how important it is to keep all of that in context. Oh, it's going to try and jump on top of the missile turret, but the repair is going to be way too strong, and now you can see the power of those Thors. Look at that air splash damage, bringing every single muta to orange and red, which means they're not going to be able to hang around. These Lings and Banes on the right-hand side, maybe they're going to find some additional damage, but here comes an Ultralisk Cavern that's immediately scanned for. Maru is everywhere on this map in game number 2, and RAGNAROK's having a difficult time trying to get any surprises over Maru.
Absolutely. Adrenal Gland's on the way, though. It is also Hydralisk Den and the Ultralisk Cavern. So RAGNAROK is getting a lot of different options here available to him, and it's going to be interesting to see which one he ends up choosing. He's working off of 3 Evolution Chambers to get all of his upgrades up, and I think he knows that this game is going to go late, so he has to try and just snowball his economy. He's 96 drones, but of course that's to the 86 SCVs of Maru, who is working on an additional command center, going to be making his way towards 5 bases. And again, I think the real issue is the upgrades. You're not going to be sitting up in upgrades as RAGNAROK. You've been so slowed down by this opening and by just how this game has progressed that Maru's, I mean, very, very happily going to be at 2-2 at the same time as you.
Well, there's a slight transition taking place right now as the Hydra Den is able to get things moving in a different direction. We do have a greater Spire. You're absolutely right, though. RAGNAROK just wants the all-you-can-eat buffet of Zerg choices here. It's just anything you could possibly want at any possible moment. And if he's got all the buildings to make it happen, well, sure, he can just wildly flip back and forth between his tech choices in his remaxes. And that's one of the benefits of being the Zerg player, especially if you have a large base count, which right now RAGNAROK does. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bases total. Really making things a better spot for him to play from. But once again, he's got to find a way to be able to deal with this ever-growing army of Maru. It's very diverse, it's very tanky, and it is right now very good at defeating what RAGNAROK has on the field.
+3 upgrades are going to come through for both these players, but Ghosts are already on the field for Maru. He's getting into that late game Terran mech Ghost composition that he is just so good at controlling. And again, these 3 battle cruisers, they've just stayed alive this entire game. Maru, he's never committed too far across the map with them. He's never been in a position where he has a chance to lose them. He's just so conservative with these units, making sure that he can be as efficient as possible. And again, you're starting to see that resources lost. It's better this game because RAGNAROK hasn't been able to throw as much as at Maru as he was able to in that last game. But still, 4K more minerals lost, and also the gas lost. Maru's only lost 500 gas. He has all of his really high gas units, high cost units still alive from the first time he's built them. And so now he can start to build up a bank, and now he can start to work on upgrades without really worrying about having to replenish his units as the BC's here trying to get collapsed on. They're just going to TP away. This base is a little bit exposed. The Baneling's going to try and roll him through. Focus fire from the tanks is not quite enough, and it's going to go down again, though. RAGNAROK, you're suiciding Banelings into a planetary fortress, and Maru just flies over his other command center, and you lose so much for, 15 worker kills? That only knocks Maru down to 70.
Yeah, and now that units lost tab is starting to look a little bit gnarlier once again here. 15 workers going down is nice. Picking off the base is also nice, but giving up so many Banelings to make it happen means that this push is going to be very scary. Now, some Banelings actually finding some good connections here. Grabbing a few of those ghosts, not an overwhelming amount, but still a small way to stymie this army even just a little bit here. But there are so many tanks, there's so many Thors that are ready to start dealing additional damage. And look at this, couple of Cyclones just slowly picking away at this hatchery, showing RAGNAROK, hey, if you want to eat up your buildings, I can do the same thing too. But here comes some good blinding clouds here by those Vipers not getting picked off. Now we're starting to see Hydras getting brought into the fight as well. Those Hydras will be able to deal a decent amount of damage to those Thors if they aren't dealt with appropriately. And now we are seeing RAGNAROK cleaning up in a little bit better way here. It's 174 to 139. It's the first time we've seen RAGNAROK maintain a supply lead here this game.
Yeah, and it was a really great fight by RAGNAROK, making sure to collapse onto the tanks, finding the collapse from multiple angles, and then also the blinding clouds from the Vipers, making sure that the Thors were, it was Zerglings on top of Thors, and that's never a situation that Terran wants to be in. As now continued tanks being pushed up here. Maru, he's down to 156 supply, but it still doesn't feel like this army is any less dangerous. He has all of the ghosts alive. He has the tanks as well. They have +3 attacks. So they pretty much one-shot these Hydralisks. It is really, really deadly, but 5 Broodlords are on the way. Again, though, you're building Broodlords into ghosts. And I don't know about you, Rushi, but last I heard, ghosts do pretty good against these Broodlords.
They do, in fact. So RAGNAROK's going to have to be careful here. He is going to push on in. Viper's getting those nice blinding clouds once again, but here come those deadly snipes, picking off some of those valuable Hydras there. Good little pull to get the tank coverage taken care of. But now look at this. It is going to be both armies a little bit on the exposed side. Few of those broodlings do get fired onto the ghost ball, but this is a death ball of Terran units here. It's 15 ghosts in the pile here, and now we start to finally see infestors brought into the mix here. And they do have neural parasite already researched, so not only are they going to start with a decent amount of energy right off the bat, they're going to be ready to start stealing valuable units right away.
Yeah, so RAGNAROK is going to try and amass a strong enough force to potentially break through Maru here. He has the Broodlords, he has the Vipers, and he has the Baneling count as well. I think the one issue is right now, again, you're attacking into mech, and that is always so risky. The tanks are here. Thors have been rebuilt. And RAGNAROK, he needs to find a convincing fight, but already Broodlords are going down. Great snipes here by Maru. And you just need to get this base as RAGNAROK and get on out. You can't afford to lose this entire army. Because right now, Maru, he's just so strong, but the trade's coming through. And the supplies are starting to even out. It's close, but it just feels like RAGNAROK never finds a convincing enough fight to push it to a victory. And right now, Maru, he's sitting on 5 bases. It's going to soon be a 6-base mech player as he reestablishes this orbital command center. RAGNAROK is finally adding on the infestors, and that's the final piece of the puzzle, but he's lost the Broodlords. There's only one left. The 3 Vipers, of course, are still here, but that's going to be the last Broodlord falling. And for RAGNAROK, he's trying everything here. It just feels like he's throwing, the kitchen sink at Maru. He's like, all right, try Vipers, Broodlords, Lingbane Hydra, and just none of it. It's all kind of working, but none of it enough for RAGNAROK to find a convincing fight.
Yeah, this is another worsening units lost tab, all of the minerals that are being sacrificed alongside the gas. And so many of them go into... oh! Oh, I don't know if that burrow was a part of the plan, but... you know, it did finally take up the base, but that was the point I was about to make, is so much of this gas is just being sacrificed into banelings, taking down command centers and planetary fortresses. So that is a difficult way to spend your money and to trade out efficiency here, but it's going to start getting more and more difficult here for RAGNAROK as smart servos is being researched right now. So now Thors are going to be a little bit stronger. Those Hellbats are going to change over just a little bit faster. Imagine if they impacted tanks, Titan. That would just be like, that would just boil so many Zerg players' brains.
As I mean, we do have burrowed infestors here, but they get caught out with scans right now. Maru is sitting at a very, very healthy count of 7 orbital command centers. He's going to keep pushing this location. Hellbat's pushing forward. The base is going to go down to tank fire, and that's going to knock RAGNAROK back down to 7 hatcheries. I mean, essentially, even on base counts with the Terran, both mains are mined out. The naturals as well, approaching mined out. Only about 100 minerals left on those bases. But here we go. RAGNAROK is committing on in. Neural parasites onto the tanks, but blinding clouds are going to blind the units that RAGNAROK did control, as Maru just pulling everything back. The banelings now rolling on through, but so far it has not been a worthwhile trade. And RAGNAROK, I mean, that was his chance, but it just feels like still was not able to find the fight that he needed.
I don't think any of those ghosts fell, or at least any reasonable number of them fell. Maru able to stabilize here as he pushes on forward, and that's going to be enough. RAGNAROK taps out, and Maru advances forward into Code S to try and secure his legacy once again in Season 2.